Good afternoon, everybody. It's the two Lees here. Lee from Andertons, which is me, and Lee Wraith here, who's the new Roland guy, who's stepped into the big shoes of Alex Hutchins. So no pressure or anything like that then.
Not much.
And we've just had some fun showing you a couple of new of the new Roland guitars that have come out, the sort of collaborations they've done with Fender. But now we're moving on into perhaps more familiar territory for Roland and Boss with the new GT-100, which you can see on this camera here. So this replaces the GT-10, which was a super top-selling kind of floor unit, amp modeler, effects unit, do a bit of everything, desktop kind of recording device. So Lee, tell us what Boss have done to improve on the GT10. So how's the GT100 better than the GT10?
I think the first thing to say about it is it's built from the ground up in terms of everything's new about the product. It's not like a GT10 Plus or anything like that. It is the chipset inside, the processor has been built specifically for the GT100, and that's something that Roland have worked really hard on trying to get exactly right. And it's 6 times the power of the processing power of the GT10, so it's incredibly powerful.
Why didn't they call it a GT60 then, if it's 6 times the power of the GT10?
It doesn't sound as good, does
Wouldn't
it?
that be better? Okay.
GT6000.
And how does that, because you're completely right, there's a load of multi-effects units out there that will go and buy an off-the-shelf sort of Motorola DSP chip, and then they'll work with that. All the best audio equipment on the market tends to have a processor that's been actually built, designed specifically with audio in mind. So it's great to hear that Boss have done that for GT100. But how does that sort of, what does that actually mean then if you've got something that's 6 times as powerful? Sort of?
Well, what they've applied all of that to the amp modelling stage, and they're going for trying to get the most realistic, nuance, enhanced patch that you can possibly get, modelling wise. So they're looking to pull out all of the nuances you would get from a valve amp whenever you change the model on the GT100. So that's what they've gone for. So the processing power is there solely to deal with that.
That is good to hear, because I think GT10 always had a lot of fans for its kind of ambient and modulation effects, particularly some of the sort of crazy effects that you could do on it. And it was always robust and always easy to use, but the main criticism probably of GT10 was that the amp models just weren't as authentic as some of the other sort of competition that was on the market.
Yeah, and they've all been sort of redesigned with the chipset in mind, and they are a lot more responsive now.
Okay, cool. Well, let's hear a few of these then. We're just using the presets. You can see on the close-up that we've got here, it's a little bit different looking to a GT10. You've got the 2 screens, and again, in true Boss style, this is a proper man's product really, in that the manual is optional. You can pretty much work out what you're doing without having to flick through the manual. But it's very, very familiar territory for anyone that's had one of these kind of pedals before. We've got a bank up and down buttons just here. We've got 4 patches per bank. I think that gives us something like 200 patches in total. A couple of other controls here which will let you engage the phrase looper, and the control button. It's a feature that's always been on Boss Multi Effects. It's kind of it's an option thing for whatever. It's a button that will do whatever you want it to do on whatever patch that you want it to be. So it's kind of, you want to turn on a chorus on a certain patch, or half the gain on a certain patch, or just do anything you want. That's your kind of button. You can tell it what to do. And then we've got the expression pedal on the end. Usual row of ins and outs on the back, so USB output, which you said they've made it, or they're developing an editor for it?
I think, there's already a GT10 librarian out there, but I know that there's talks about putting together a specific editor for the
so
patches.
again, that means you're always going to find using the 2 screens on here probably a bit more fiddly than if you could do it on a proper sort of 19-inch computer monitor. So there's an editor. If you connect via USB, it also works as an audio output. And then you've got all your usual, headphone outputs, regular guitar amp outputs, auxiliary inputs for your iPod or something. Send and return, I guess, is for looping in other effects, is it? So
and so you an amp as well.
Okay,
so
cool. Full MIDI. Anyway, look, let's hear it. So I'll just step through the patches whilst Lee's playing. We'll try and keep the levels all about the same. And what we're going to get, if you're wondering where Rob is in this video, of course he's over here, and Rob is going to come in after I've sort of gone through the basics and design a patch, make a monkey patch.
Patch from scratch.
Patch from scratch. Catchy. So we've done a few different patches there. As I said, there's 200 odd of these, so you could spend all day doing this. And I'm sure there's probably videos on the Roland channel already that go into more of the patches. And Rob's going to design his own as well. But let's just do a quick kind of idea about why GT-100. I always think that what Boss have done really well on their floor units compared to, say, Line 6 or Digitech, stuff like that, is they are probably more intuitive to use. I think the Line 6 stuff is cool when you use the editor with it, but if you try and use it just using the screen, it's often quite fiddly, and I think that's where Boss is definitely scoring points here. So just tell me, we've got 8 of these knobs underneath the 2 screens, and obviously as you go through the screens they're going to relate to different things. So what's happening on the first sort of 2 screens?
Well, first of all, I think it's good to say that the 2 screens kind of combine.
Yeah.
So it's not like 2 separate screens. Certainly when you look at this first sort of picture, if you like, and it looks like, if you can see it on the camera here, it looks like an actual amp, which is the first thing that any guitarist likes to see, because you don't have to go through a load of banks to find what you're after. You can go straight to the type of amp you want to select.
Oh, cool.
So you can flick through the amp model type there, and whatever that is, you can then change the settings of the amp along here. So as you would do on a regular amp, the gain, and the EQ, the bass, middle, treble, and then the power amp level.
Yeah.
Then using the page buttons, you start to flick into other aspects of it, another view, if you like, of it. So you've got over here, you've got what's going on effects-wise.
Yeah.
And like anything, some people like to look at certain things in a certain way.
Yeah.
And by having another option, at least you're getting that, another slant on it.
I like the other view that you showed me.
I like this
effects.
one. So if you press effect,
yeah,
you can actually see
kind
the
of
chain.
looks like a chain of pedals.
Yeah,
there, doesn't
I
it?
find this a lot easier to look at.
Yeah.
So starting over here,
Yeah.
from guitar, moving towards the right.
Like your pedals would
like
be if they were on a
pedals would
board.
be,
Yeah.
You can go through each one. And as you can see on the right-hand side, as I move through each pedal,
Oh, I see. Yeah, cool.
you're starting to get whatever it is that pedal is.
So if you've got an actual graphic of a pedal, that means that type of effect is engaged, if you like.
It's there.
And if there's a little black dot like this, say there is on the OD one, just means that's the slot where you would put an overdrive.
it's
So
the
let's
best place for
add an overdrive in here.
So
then.
we can put that. If I switch on,
Yeah, you see the pedal come up.
bit.
And then what over here you
then
choose
you've got
the
the type, so you could flick through all the typical
cool.
ones that you've seen many times before on all the GT10, and then you can flick through and change the drive settings. It's a lot easier to look at. I always found the GT10 was fairly good at that anyway, but this is particularly easy to go through. So I've got my hopes, fingers crossed for Chappers in a bit.
And just noticing as well, you have some people always think with multi-effects units the power in a multi-effects unit is to create a patch that has a particular amp setting and all the different pedals you'd want, and then store that, and then the next button you press will load a different patch, and etc, etc. But it's always been something that I think users have sometimes liked to do, and Boss are very good at this. You can switch the unit into what's called a manual mode. It's by pressing these 2 buttons at once. And in the manual mode, what will actually happen is, rather than each button going to a new patch every single time, each button will just turn on and off a particular pedal. So that is almost entirely replicating just having like a row of pedals in front of you. I was quite impressed with this thing called Easy Tone.
Yeah, that's a feature that was on the GT10.
Yeah.
But it just keeps getting better. This is one of the things that they've refined since then. So pressing the easy tone button takes you into the menu.
Yeah.
You can select the menus on the left-hand side.
That's what I like. I like this patch create
is there, and that allows you to click through this side now, the basic tone, and you can choose via genre.
Yeah.
Once you've chosen maybe blues,
I think this is great.
You can then change the variation, change what type of setting that you want to do.
And this is different. I've not seen this done before. So the idea being is that if you don't really understand about amps and models and effects and gain and all that kind of stuff, but you just want to have fun with your multi-effects player, you can go into easy tone. You can go to a blues genre or a soul genre, or I guess there's metal as well, is there? In there?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let's find metal.
Let's find metal. There's jazz.
Liverpool, I love it.
80s
metal.
80s metal.
No, 80s metal all the way. And then, can you see on this side here, you've basically just got some descriptions of, so you can have heavy riff, stacked lead, solo delay, whatever you want to do. Let's have, where's slippery when wet mode?
Oh, that's just a bit further down here. If someone said to you, right, you need to create this particular sound. Yeah. Maybe you've got, you hear it in your head and you want to create it, or you're in a band and you're trying to get that particular sound. Yeah. Rather than starting from scratch and going, well, I know there's some delay in there, and I know there's an OD one in there somewhere. The best place to start is here.
Just easy tone.
And then tweak it if you need to. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So get me. Let's have a bit of 80s stuff. You can have a quick chunk around on that, and then we'll get Chappers in to create his own tone.
Hanging off the side of a mountain.
Greetings, I'm back, and it's time to get me a monkey tone. And I think what I'd like is a soldano type lead sound. That sounds nice. Could we... I can tell there's a bit of a noise gate on it.
Yeah, we can go and have a look.
Can we turn that off?
So
I like gates, but sometimes with the sort of rolling it back and kind of getting it chilled out type thing, which is what I tend to do with the volume knob.
Yeah.
I prefer it to be off.
Right, the noise gates are off. That's what I really like about this. That the process is working really hard to emulate the stages of the gain stages.
Yeah.
As you drop back on the volume, it cleans it up.
That's great. If I tap it and single chord this humbucker. Really good, really good. Can we have a long delay, but quite a little bit of it?
Yeah, sure.
Because what I'm after is like a kind of thing. Perfect.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Is it the effect level high enough for you or low enough?
Perfect. And can I have a bit more reverb?
Right, that's
kind of a hall type situation, so I can really kind of 80s it up. Let's have a listen to that hall.
I'll give you a little more.
Yeah. That's perfect. awesome. That is absolutely awesome. While I'm just sort of gratuitously enjoying my fretboard, why don't you mess around with the EQ so I can hear the variance? But also, could you add a bit of juicy octave
I can
to
look
that?
for some modulation for you, yes.
Yeah. I'm already in drop B, so this is going to be very, very, very low. By the way, we just plugged into my favourite Roland Cube, the ATXL, and we're just going into the clean input with the volume at about, I don't know, a third of the way up. It sounds big in the room. So we're going to back off some of that chorus and kind of make it a bit more of a realistic sound rather than a fun shredding type tone. And then we're going to whack it through the desk rather than taking it from a mic through the amplifier so you can hear it straight out of this GT-100 beast. Rafe here is from Nottingham.
I'm in Nottingham.
Famous for being the birthplace of Robin Hood.
Indeed.
That's
Do you know Robin Hood?
True
I
story.
do, yes. He's quite a nice chap.
Yeah,
he was under a tree.
Got arrested, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He's firing arrows at people.
Yeah, kept giving stuff away. Like Lee with his crazy bargains. So we've wired this wizardry in a special wicked way into the desk rather than through the amplifier because that's the way that they wanted to do it. So now it sounds like this rather than the previous sound that you heard. Good. I feel good has been done here today. I'm sensing a warm friendship from you. Let's do a
Indeed.
hand hug. And and if you want to purchase anything you've seen here today, apart from Chapman M1 because we run out, you can go to andertons.co.uk and they'll sell you whatever you need. I've been Rob Chappers.
And I've been Lee Wraith.